Hey all, welcome to Voices of Data Protection. I'm your host Bhavy and I'm a Principal Program Manager at Microsoft. This series will feature the leaders, program managers from Microsoft, and experts from the industry to share details about the latest solution and processes to help you manage your data, keep it safe, and stay compliant. In this episode, I talk with Nick Robinson. Let's get started. Hey, thanks a lot, Nick, for joining this podcast. Welcome to the Voices of Data Protection. Why don't you give a quick introduction about yourself?
Awesome. Hey, Bhavy, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me. So I'm Nick Robinson. I'm a PM on the eDiscovery and Investigations team within Microsoft 365 Security and Compliance Solutions. And we're working on bringing comprehensive eDiscovery capabilities to our customers within Microsoft 365. And so it's been a really fun journey so far. I've had the pleasure of working in a couple of different business teams across Microsoft. And, you know, the customer engagement, the pace and excitement level I see here is really, really strong. So it's been a lot of fun.
Hey, Nick, if I'm not wrong, I think you were in the marketing team and then you worked with the customer experience team. So that essentially means that you understand the customer needs really well. Should we assume that?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I've had a lot of opportunities to catch up with our customers and kind of hear some of their pain points, their opportunities, get a handle on their perspective. And yeah, as you mentioned, I was with the Office 365 marketing team for a few years, and it was awesome to see especially large enterprise customers, regulated firms, start to transition and think about the cloud in a different way. I think initially it was, hey, this feels daunting. Am I really ready to make that transformation? And it turned into this huge benefit, kind of a virtuous cycle, if you will. And so that was really cool to see that transition. And in the marketing, I got to really see things at a high level and kind of the broad strokes of kind of how customers were thinking about our solutions and what we could do for them. And then getting to work with our customer experience organization, as you mentioned, was great. This is a team that's chartered with driving adoption of our security and compliance capabilities. And, you know, it's working hand in hand with customers, understanding kind of what's blocking them from adopting. Once they've made the commitment, they've decided they want to do this, what's actually preventing them, and what are the things that we as a product team need to improve upon right away to make sure that we're delivering kind of the things that we want to deliver. And so that was really cool. And gave me a lot of customer empathy. You know, some of the things I think were super interesting are that just, you know, we're a big organization at Microsoft. And I think, you know, you and I, Bhavy, we're in a similar team, but we don't actually cross paths that often, even in non-remote work times. And our customers are in the same boat. You know, they have many departments that are working to come together to implement these technologies and kind of get some of these value props. And it can be tough and it can take a lot of time. So I have a lot of empathy for the process and the journey and kind of the differing perspectives in those customer organizations as they attempt to adopt all these capabilities. So now I get to bring that over into the product team as we work on kind of designing the solutions, developing those, and then shipping those out to the customer set. So it's been super fun to see all the business from those different angles, especially during this time when it's been a big focus for Microsoft and something our customers are taking advantage of.
I think it puts you in this unique position where, you know, when you are in the marketing and customer experience team, you get to hear from customers a lot. And then you are basically passing that to the product teams to say, hey, what do you guys think about it? I think you guys should be building all these things too. Where you are right now, basically you're building it out with the product team. So that's really great.
That's right. Yeah, it's fun to be able to make that transition and kind of impact the business in different ways across time, and also kind of embrace different growth opportunities for myself and perspectives to kind of build on.
That's good to know, Nick. Let me jump into the topic. First thing is about the industry trends as to, you know, finding the data that you need and when you need it is really a tough challenge in this modern workplace. But investigation, data requests, litigation require access to specific data in a tight timeline. Given the digital transformation and data explosion that we're going through, the need to stay compliant, what have been some of the main challenges that you've seen organizations struggle with, and how do you anticipate these evolve in the near future?
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's a great question. It's always top of mind. Customers are kind of continually facing new challenges. One of the things, I guess, to kind of hit on some of the key points that we've seen recently are kind of the digital transformation that's evolved and accelerated more fully around this remote work. And so as everyone kind of goes remote and people are adopting productivity and collaboration tools kind of to a new degree. Not that they haven't been, but new organizations are coming in, and organizations who have been in are adopting even more fully. It just, the volume of that data, the variety of that data, the way that people are communicating in really critical content is just kind of changing. And so when we've spoken with customers recently, it's not only driving changes to their process, but also to their requirements. So the way that they're able to manage these different privacy requests or content requests, it could be a number of different scenarios, and also the requirements that they're getting asked for from their legal team or their privacy team. Because, as you think about, let's take Teams for an example. Microsoft Teams, and the way that you and I might communicate on a project basis in a threaded chat. Well, each of those threaded chat has traditionally been seen as a single item. But if I'm trying to understand, let's say, a complaint of harassment or maybe a violation of an NDA, I can't just look at that single item and really get an understanding of what might have been going on in that conversation and if there was an issue here or not. So threading these chat is something that we do that's been a huge value driver for our customers. And we've heard from customers who say, hey, I need something like this. Have you thought about this? Are you doing that? And luckily it's something we put into place over the last year or so. And so the customers are taking advantage of it. We're seeing a huge benefit. The other piece I'd say is like linked content. So if you think about now the concept of sending an attachment over an email, like a hard local attachment, like how often are you doing that in your day-to-day work, right? For us, it's not very common. What I'll do is I'll create either a file in my OneDrive or in a Teams site or a SharePoint location, and I'll share that file to you. And then you can see the file real time. We're collaborating. We're working on that together. That's great from an end user perspective and actually really good from an admin perspective too, because I'm not creating multiple copies, local copies of sensitive information throughout my environment, actually having a kind of like one file that's a source of truth. But when I go to do discovery and investigations, it's complicated and it kind of add a lot of difficulty to actually find those files, bring them back, consider them as a responsive part of your collection or your review. And so that's another piece. That's something that's been top of mind for customers as they're thinking about this. And then overall, I would say kind of managing cost and risk. It's like, data's going up. How do I keep my risk down, my cost down? How do I transition if I'm heavily regulated or if I've been in an on-prem and I'm trying to get some of the benefits to the cloud? How do I manage that digital estate as I go across? And then kind of what are some of those components that I need to think through to manage that data explosion and the different pieces that I have requirements around? Okay. So those are some of the big things that we're seeing. People want to keep their sensitive data where it is. They don't want to have to export all of their sensitive data to another system. So that goes hand in hand with that as well. So those are some of the...
that adds to more risk when people move things around, right? So,
exactly.
Yeah. So how have you seen this, right? Like over the last 9 months or so, when things have really changed to, remote work, what were people doing and what are people doing today? And then the second question there is, what kind of value is eDiscovery delivering to those customers and how is it relevant today?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for a lot of organizations and the customers that I'm speaking with, it's about just embracing the tools. So whether it's Teams or whatever it might be that they're using, it's enabling the virtual meetings and the virtual connections to drive the same level of productivity. So and then you think about, there's been some really interesting reports that Microsoft has put out on our own work population around the volume of work that's taking place. And it feels in some ways like some organizations have taken this as a personal challenge. Like, can I be productive or as productive or more productive? And so the volume of weekend work, the volume of evening work has all gone up. And guess what? It's all critical and it's all enabled. It's all supported by interface with the computer. So when you think about that discoverable or kind of risk surface area, if we put on our legal technology manager hat, then that surface area it's much wider, much broader. So not only do I have to think about security and making sure everybody's secure, but also if I have to go and do discovery or investigations, then I have much more that I need to cover. So that's kind of been an important piece. Yeah.
Okay, let me ask you this question because this is really key for our customers to understand as well. It's the same person doing double their job. Is that a way to see with the data explosion from this pandemic? So how is your solution going to help the customers achieve the task?
Yeah, so in advanced eDiscovery, we've been focused in a lot on helping organizations do things that are targeted. So let's enable targeted collections. So instead of drawing a large scope on content and exporting all of it for processing, let's enable a targeted collection, which is kind of like doing a search against your inbox, your OneDrive, a SharePoint team site that might be relevant to an investigation, and then bring in just the set of content that we think is relevant, and then apply advanced analytics on that. And so that's where we can provide a review experience where we'll let you thread your individual conversation items, like I mentioned before. We'll also reduce out your duplicates. We'll apply themes to that content so you can quickly get a sense of, hey, what's not relevant at all? When were Bhavy and Nick talking about lunch, not talking about the top secret project? And I'm just going to take that content out of the flow. And so if I can remove a big bulk of that content by identifying that it's not relevant, then I'm going to not have to handle that further downstream. And that's going to reduce my risk and my cost. So that's kind of what we're focused on, is kind of that iterative collection and analytics to help kind of manage that content, to kind of go back to that cost and risk equation that I mentioned earlier around one of the big trends.
And what are the core innovations that we can expect to see over the next 6 months to 1 year that you could disclose and make it really interesting for our customers to listen to?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're doing more with some of the conversation stuff that I mentioned, batching the way that we're going to handle conversations so that it's even easier to review. We'll also be including more options for managing the modern attachments and linked content that I mentioned. We have a set of graph APIs that are now in beta, but that are coming out in GA to enable kind of integration and automation into advanced eDiscovery for organizations who, hey, they really want to set a standard and repeatable process against this type of activity. They can use that API to do that. And that's a really big piece. That's pretty exciting. And then we're working on overall expanding kind of the limits and the amount of content that we can handle on the platform. So as we get big and bigger customers coming into the cloud and doing more and more with our solution, the requirements are just increasing for us to be able to handle millions of documents. So we're working on how can we expand that, make sure the platform's ready to scale to our largest customers in their most kind of urgent tasks and activities around eDiscovery.
That's great. And I think the last question here is, what is your recommendation for organizations as to, how to get started with this? What is your top 3 or top 5 steps that you would recommend organizations to do in and around discovery and response?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'd recommend, the IT team or the data protection team should be thinking about their eDiscovery processes. And if they're not already connected with a legal technology manager or someone who's helping to manage this, to get connected with them and understand a little bit about what it looks like for their organization and what they're doing today. And then go ahead and step into the tool and take a look at the way that we're mapping out the solution in 365 to the workflow that most organizations have. Kind of the EDRM is kind of the standard framework that most companies use in this, and start to plug in where Microsoft 365 can help out their process, because there's a lot of things that they probably have as requirements that we're going to be able to provide out of the box. And once they've got an assessment for that, then they can start to turn on a few policies and establish a case and set up a search to understand some of the content and how the review sets work and all those pieces. So a little bit of a crawl, walk, run, if you will, but I think that's a great start to kind of understanding a little bit about what we're able to provide in the service.
Let me ask you this question. Probably a lot of people have asked you already about this. When is Yammer coming in?
Yammer is there.
Yammer is there. Oh, that's great news,
Yammer
Nick.
is there. Yeah, okay. Already done. Boom, done. Now that's what we say on user voice sometimes. It's a response to some of the requests. Boom, done. That one's there. That was a long running request, and that goes in the challenges and the trends that we talked about earlier, as these new kind of data types and conversation types. So Yammer is definitely there.
Thanks a lot, Nick. I think that's about it. Thanks a lot for taking time to talk to us today.
Absolutely, happy to do it.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Voices of Data Protection. To learn more about this episode, visit our show page for links and resources about all that we discussed at aka.ms/Voices of Data Protection. If you liked this episode, please share it with your friends and colleagues and subscribe to the show. In our next episode, I'll be talking with John Cardarelli. Keep up with the latest on data protection in compliance by visiting aka.ms/Voices of Data Protection. See you all there.